3 today, so you know I'm serious. Good evening and welcome to the council meeting for Monday, February the 10th, 2025. At this time, please rise for the playing of the national anthem and a moment of reflection.
Oh, Canada.
Please be seated. This time, I will look to Councillor McPherson to read the land acknowledgement.
The land on which council meets today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, Attawandaronk, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many Indigenous peoples made up of First Nation, Inuit, and Métis. The Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement should remind us of our responsibility to ensure the Dish, the territories on which we live and work, is never emptied, and that we take care of the land and its inhabitants in a way that ensures its future sustainability.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. We will begin this evening by resolving into the Municipal Development Corporation's annual shareholder meeting. At this time, I will call this meeting to order. And the Corporate Secretary has advised there are no amendments to the agenda. So can I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Councillor Harris and Councillor Kushner. Be it resolved that the agenda for February 10th, 2025 annual meeting of the shareholder be approved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none. The chair's report, as I am accustomed to doing with the Municipal Development Corporation, I will keep it very short and just say that there is no chair's report this evening. Annual resolutions. The first one is the appointment of the auditor. Be it resolved that the appointment of the auditor of the corporation be the same firm chosen by the corporation of the City of St. Catharines pursuant to their required selection process and authorizing the directors to fix the auditor's remuneration. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Lindell, seconded by Councillor Stevens. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councillor Lindell?
Yes.
Councillor Stevens? Yes. Councillor Ratzlaff?
Yes.
Councillor Phillips?
Yes.
Councillor Miller?
Yes.
Councillor McPherson?
Yes.
Councillor Kushner?
Yes.
Councillor Harris?
Yes.
Councillor Dodge?
Yes.
Councillor Townsend?
Yes.
Councillor Williamson?
Yes.
And Mayor Cisco?
Yes.
And that's carried.
On to discussion items, and the first one, 6.1, appointment of directors. The board recommendation is be it resolved that the following directors hold office for the length of the term of council or until their successors are appointed, whichever is earlier. Mayor Matt Cisco, Councillor Matt Harris, Councillor Greg Miller, David Oakes, Christine Douglas, and Brian York. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Kushner, Councillor Lindell. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Kushner? Counselor Lindell?
Yes.
Counselor Harris?
Yes.
Counselor Miller?
Yes.
Counselor McPherson?
Yes.
Counselor Dodge?
Yes.
Counselor Phillips?
Yes.
Counselor Ratzlaff?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Townsend?
Yes.
Counselor Williamson?
Yes.
And Mayor Cisco.
Yes.
And that's carried.
All right, moving on to item 6.2, St. Catharines Municipal Development Corporation 2025 Budget and Business Plan. Before we discuss the report, I'm going to call on Tim Herbert, the General Manager, to present regarding the 2025 Budget and Business Plan. Welcome, Mr. Herbert. The lectern is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Cisco. Good evening, councilors, staff, and those in the gallery. As you just heard, my name is Tim Herbert, and I am absolutely thrilled to be the inaugural general manager of the St. Catharines Municipal Development Corporation. Just a quick look at what we'll go through this evening. We'll take a look at a quick introduction, some of the processes and procedures, and what measurements of success are. I'd just like to give you a little bit of my background so you know who is this gentleman speaking in front of you to this evening. Been in St. Catharines my entire life. My career did take my family and I throughout the province. St. Catharines was always and will always be home. I've got a broad range of experience, and when you do look at the situation around housing, it really involves four major groups. It involves the municipality, it involves the developer, it involves the financial side aspect, and it also does involve the end user. The solutions are for the end user. Whoa, sorry about that. That was a lot quicker of a meeting than I thought it was going to be. So the report that's in front of you contains the budget. It has the mission statement, the visions, the values, and as to what we're going to go and attempt to do and complete in the Municipal Development Corporation. The one thing that the corporation does allow is it allows for real actionable solutions. As a corporation, I can negotiate differently and stronger with the development community and the finance community. I think that one thing you will see as we move through 2025 and 2026, that I will challenge the norms and look for private sector solutions. And I think the outcomes of the Municipal Development Corporation's 2025 and 26 is what really matters. And that is more attainable and affordable housing. I know that there will always be a poignant stance to stay aligned with the operating agreement that we have in place. It's a new operating agreement. In my exposure and experience, I think that you can see that as we go through things, we'll learn from each other. But I think that we have to keep an open mind that there may need to be some amendments to that agreement. There may not, but let's see how it goes. The one thing that I will emphasize every time that I meet with the board or with you as the council, I would say this: the solutions are not just the responsibility of the municipality, the developer, or the financial community. The solutions are going to come from a collaboration and trying something new and different in this community. This type of project has been around since 1955. And I want to thank staff, council, and the mayor for bringing this unique opportunity to the city of St. Catharines. As we look at 2025, and I did very much appreciate on behalf of the Municipal Development Corporation, the transfer of I'll call them the 3 initial properties transferred over, but I would expect that there would be joint venture and partnerships on those existing properties in 2025. And there should be the launch of a project. And I'll say the launch of a project because a project of this nature will take a minimum of 12 to 18 months from start to finish. And I will be looking under the asset transfer policy for additional lands to be transferred to the Municipal Development Corporation. And you'll notice that under 26, that just continues right over there. I would expect that there would be, again, on if there are additional properties that are transferred over, that there would be joint venture partnerships and another launch of a second project in 2026. During 2026, I'm hoping and keeping fingers crossed that the initial project in 2025 would be complete and there would be the economic benefits to the city. But first and foremost, that there would be additional attainable and affordable housing in the city of St. Catharines. This is timely, it's well needed, and again, I very much appreciate your support. With that, I will leave it if there is any questions from anyone.
Thank you, Mr. Herbert, for the presentation. Are there any questions for the general manager? Councilor Ratzlaff.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Through you. So you talked a little bit about expecting there be more land transfers in the next coming years. Do you have any ideas of what land you're looking at, or are you going to start small? Will be another land transfer similar to the one that we just saw, like in terms of scope, or what do you anticipate?
Thank you very much. I would anticipate that the second request will be larger, but that is subject, of course, to the board approval. I have a list of properties that I'm looking at bringing to the board. And once upon their approval, they would come to council.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right. Oh, Councilor Kushner.
Thank you. When you say you have a list of properties that would be brought to the board, will those properties be city properties that are for sale, or are you looking to purchase properties?
Thank you, Councilor Kushner. There will be both. There are a number of additional city properties that I believe the Municipal Development Corporation should be interested in. And as per last council, I am at the current time in discussions with the Niagara Region and the District School Board of Niagara on a couple of their properties. And I have also identified other potential properties, but I think that first and foremost, we should work through the municipal properties and the 2 properties that I was elected to act as agent for the city for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Kushner. Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Herbert, for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
At this time, we do have a recommendation that the 2025 St. Catharines Municipal Development Corporation budget attached as Appendix 1 and business plan as outlined in Report MDC 05 2025 be approved. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councilor Harris, Councilor Lindell. Any further debate? Seeing none, I will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councillor Harris.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Counselor Ratzlaff,
Yes.
Counselor Stevens,
Yes.
Counselor Townsend,
Yes.
Counselor Williamson,
Yes.
Counselor McPherson,
Yes.
Counselor Dodge,
Yes.
Counselor Kushner, and Mayor Cisco,
Yes.
and that's carried.
All right, there is no closed session, so there is no motions arising from closed session. So we get to item number 9, the confirmation of all acts. And there is a resolution, be it resolved that all acts, contracts, proceedings, appointments, bylaws, elections, and payments enacted, made, done, given, and taken by the directors and the officers of the corporation, referred to in the minutes of the corporation, be and the same are hereby approved, sanctioned, and confirmed. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Phillips, Councillor Stevens, any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Phillips,
Yes.
Counselor Stevens,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Harris,
Yes.
Counselor Dodge,
Yes.
Counselor Williamson,
Yes.
Counselor Townsend,
Yes.
Counselor Ratzlaff,
Yes.
Counselor McPherson,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Kushner, and Mayor Cisco,
Yes.
and that's carried.
All right, and finally, to everybody's favorite motion, adjournment. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor McPherson, Councillor Kushner. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. At this point, Evan will leave the dais and Donna will replace him. But Evan is irreplaceable, and I would never want to say that he could simply be replaced by Donna. Donna also is wonderful. All right, we are back into our regular meeting, and I will get into the mayor's report, which is shorter this evening than usual. This month is Black History Month, and last week we came together to raise the Pan-African flag at City Hall to commemorate the beginning of the month's events. I was joined by Councillor McPherson. Were you here for Black History Month? Yes. Councillor Stevens, were you here? Yes, okay. Did I miss anybody? I think that's everybody. This year, the theme for Black History Month is Reclaiming Narratives of Black Resistance, a powerful theme that speaks to the resilience, the resistance, success, and pride of Black voices and stories. Special thanks to Julia Dunn and Elzra Akasha for sharing their talents with us as part of the flag raising event. Elzra was especially fantastic. She read a beautiful poem talking about a number of different things in her life, and that was pretty amazing. A reminder that from February 3rd to February 28th on the second floor of City Hall, you'll be able to view an exhibition of works by Black artists in Niagara highlighting themes of resistance and pride. And this exhibition is a beautiful representation of the strength and creativity within our community. On Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend the annual Black History Month variety show hosted by Future Black Female and Black-owned 905 at the First Ontario Performing Arts Centre. The event was an opportunity for the community to come together to celebrate the talents of Niagara's Black and Afro-Caribbean communities. And I do want to give a special thank you to Future Black Female and Black-owned 905 for the work that they put in to make that a reality. I also attended the opening of Sophie Fran's art exhibition titled Eternal Africa, Past, Present, and Future, a powerful and thought-provoking exhibition that reminds us of the many contributions that immigrants, newcomers, and people of different cultural backgrounds bring to our community. And because it was run by Sophie Fran, I got to break out my French-speaking skills, which is always fun for everybody who is forced to listen to me. Thank you to all the organizations involved in organizing and supporting this month's programming in celebration of Black History Month. It is a very special month indeed. I want to thank the folks at Community Care for organizing the 26th Annual Mayor's Pancake Breakfast last Tuesday. The event helped raise needed funds to support housing solutions right here in our community. Special thank you to Joni, the owner of Sunset Grill on Welland Avenue, for donating both his time and supplies that help make a delicious pancake breakfast team housing fundraiser. I will say in the 15 years I've had the pleasure of going, this one was the busiest. I've never seen Market Square quite as filled as it was last week. Earlier this month, I had the opportunity to attend a rebranding event for the Niagara Folk Arts Multicultural Center, which is now known as Bridges Niagara. Through a broad range of programs and services, the organization creates connections, builds bridges to assist the ethnocultural and newcomer community in the Niagara region. This new, more inclusive name and logo reflects the organization's understanding of the many barriers faced by immigrants and refugees, as well as their growing mission and strong commitment to supporting folks as they settle in a new community. So congratulations to everyone involved in this rebranding, and especially to my good friend Emily Kovacs, who is doing a wonderful job leading the organization just down the street from us here. Last week, we kicked off Mayor Links 2025 with 3 visits to local businesses. First, we visited Largo's Loft, located at 106 King Street, just across from the Market Square, a beautifully designed creative space where artists, entrepreneurs, and visionaries bring their ideas to life. Congratulations to Victoria Van Heswick, a recent graduate of our summer company program, on opening the great space for artists in our downtown. And I'm just going to divert for a second to say, Victoria said some really wonderful things about our summer starter program through the Enterprise Center, and she was very, very vociferous in talking about what great work they did, how they have helped her to ingratiate herself into the business community here in downtown. So I want to give some kudos to the folks at the Enterprise Center through Economic Development as well, because they are clearly doing a really, really great job, just based on the feedback that I heard from her and then from a couple of other entrepreneurs later on in the week. After we visited Largo's Loft, we were able to head over to King Street Pantry, located at 21 King, and we were able to officially open their location in the heart of downtown. King Street Pantry is a thoughtfully curated local grocery store supporting fresh, quality, and community-driven products. Congratulations to owners Greg and Megan Riddell on their opening, and thank you for investing in St. Catharines. For those who are curious, I bought haggis. I'm looking forward to frying up my haggis. I think it's going to be delicious. And then finally, I was pleased to visit Odd Bar to help owners Justin and Scott celebrate 5 years of incredible service in our downtown, serving up some of the best slices of pizza in the city. From their great flavors to their welcoming atmosphere, Odd Bar has become a staple in the St. Catharines community. Here's to many more years of amazing pizza. A couple of upcoming events before we get into tonight's agenda. The next Town Hall STC meeting will be in St. Patrick's Ward and will take place on February 19th at the Armenian Community Center at 156 Martindale Road. The event will run from 5:30 until 7:30 p.m. Residents are encouraged to attend their own ward's Town Hall STC event. However, they are welcome to attend any and all Town Hall STC events across the city. Pre-registration is recommended, and if you wish to speak at the event, please note this when registering, and you'll be given priority. You can visit stcatharines.ca/Town Hall STC to register. On February 22nd, you can join Team STC to take part in the coldest night of the year, a frost-tastic, family-friendly walk to raise money for local charities serving people experiencing hurt, hunger, and homelessness in our community. Here in St. Catharines, funds will support Start Me Up Niagara, and you can visit cnoy.org to sign up or donate to Team STC. On February 25th, I, along with several of my council colleagues and city staff, will be participating in the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Niagara annual Tim Hortons Bowl for Kids' Sake event. I'm looking forward to taking on the staff team from St. Catharines as well as challenging teams from other municipalities across Niagara. The council team won last year, right?
Yes, significantly.
So yeah, it wasn't close. No. I remember it being not close. Embarrassing, perhaps, for the staff team. But that's fine. You tried, and that's the least important thing. For over 85 years, Big Brothers Big Sisters has been igniting the power and potential of youth across Niagara. Your support will ensure youth in our community that need it the most have the opportunity to experience life-changing mentorship. To donate to Team STC or to book your own lane, visit niagara.bigbrothersbigsisters.ca. Did Mr. Christie play last year? And he holds himself up as such an athlete. Just pickleball. No, I've played. You're not an athlete in pickleball. I hear you play basketball, which is, that's like bowling. Just take a swing. There's a ball. My chief of staff is so offended right now. It's a Western theme this year. Miss Douglas, will you be out? I've seen you in Western theme, so I know you own a cowboy hat. Wonderful, wonderful. The CFO is going to be there. On February 27th, you can join me at my annual State of the City address in partnership with the GNCC. This year's event will take place at Club Roma from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Lunch will be served. For tickets, please visit www.gncc.ca. I look forward to seeing you all there. And given that it is such an incredibly boring year with absolutely nothing going on affecting the local economy, I'm sure I will have nothing to talk about. With that, I will open the floor to any councillors who would like to add anything to the mayor's report. Councillor Lindell.
I want to mention again that the Merritton Lions are doing their annual trivia night on February 22nd at 7 p.m. Councillor Stevens will be joining my team this year. I understand Councillor Williamson is also going to be there. I hope everyone can come out. If you need information, it's merrittonlionstrivia@hotmail.com.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. speaking of Lions clubs, the Grantham Lions Club, next Monday, the 17th, I believe, that's Family Day, will have their 3rd annual Family Day breakfast, starting at 8 a.m. till noon hour. The whole sausage, bacon, pancakes, home fries, toast, juice, coffee, and the whole bit. So come on out and fill your tummies before you get out there and do all your Family Day events with your family. And also, just this past Saturday, actually, Councillor Phillips was there as well, myself. The clubs, the garden clubs of Niagara had CD Saturday at the Niagara College, and it was their 2nd annual, and they're looking forward to doing it again. There was some vendors there, and you could buy seeds and trade seeds and everything, and it was a very good location. They partnered with Niagara College, so looking for good things coming in the future with that as well, of all our garden clubs in Niagara. And just on a note about the bridges, so everybody doesn't get excited, the Folk Arts Festival is still the Folk Arts Festival. This was just to divide it and bridges to show what they do for the newcomers, but the festival is still the festival and will always be the festival. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Councillor Stevens. Councillor Williamson, we have the entire Meriton Trivia crew speaking this evening.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. I'm not endorsing a provincial candidate right now, Mr. Mayor, in case you're concerned about that.
I promise you, Councillor Williamson, I was not.
I do want to pay tribute to someone we lost recently, Brian Mellish, who was involved in umpiring, coaching, slow pitch, volleyball, and he's involved in the Grantham Optimist like his father was, and is going to be somebody that's missed by a great number of people and contributed a lot to the community. So I want to mention Brian's name tonight. Also, there's another trivia night coming up too, March the 1st at the Grantham Optimist, and all funds will go towards the good works that they do. And Mike Balsam, I think, is going to be the trivia master, so that should make it interesting.
All right, thank you, Councillor Williamson. We've got a number of trivia nights. I feel like perhaps the city should set up a trivia webpage. There was one thing I actually wanted to mention, and it was Councillor Williamson speaking that actually twigged it in my mind. The question had been asked a couple of weeks ago, I think by email. Residents were a little bit concerned trying to be able to find agendas and such on the website. So I did want to remind the community, just this past week, an AI feature was added to the St. Catharines website, and I tested it specifically with the query that Councillor Williamson had sent through. And it did exactly what it's supposed to do. It took you directly to a spot where you could find the agenda. And so I just want to encourage folks, the stcatharines.ca website is actually, I will say, if it can do that, it is a noticeable step up. I know city websites across North America are notoriously difficult to use and to navigate and everything else, but I would encourage folks, use that AI tool. It is not your standard, pick up the phone and dial up a menu where you have to say things over and over again. It seemed to work really well for the queries that I was punching in just to see if it could take me to things. So I encourage folks to do that. And if it doesn't work well for you, send that through to your counselor so that we can forward that on to our staff to try and debug the software as time goes on. But I do think it's a useful feature. And as I said, Councillor Williamson had raised that concern, and it's something that I've had a concern about, people being able to find things. And that tool seems to be uniquely well attuned to finding the information people want to find on the website. So I wanted to throw that out and give kudos to corporate services and IT and all the people that did that, because I know that's not easy. There we go. All right, so we move on to the adoption of the agenda, and I'll put things over to the clerk for a couple of changes.
Item 10.1, presentation from KPMG, re-audit planning report, will move to be heard after item 9.1. And item 10.2 and 17.1, regarding a bylaw to manage and regulate election signs, has been updated to avoid any ambiguity, as the intent of the bylaw was to capture all zones of property. So therefore, a definition of mixed use, employment, and agriculture has been added to the bylaw and inserted into section 6.2.
All right, I'd like to request that council consider a motion not appearing on the agenda regarding tariffs. Per council's procedural bylaw, section M6.4, motions not appearing on the agenda can only be considered if council votes unanimously in favor of considering the motion. If that motion passes, then council will consider the matter under the motions portion of the agenda. So there is a motion on the floor that in accordance with procedural bylaw 2024-155, section M6.4, council consider a motion not appearing on the agenda regarding tariffs. Could I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Phillips, Councillor Kushner. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. So can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Williamson, Councillor Lindell, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes. The council adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 27th, 2025. Mover and seconder. Councillor Phillips, Councillor Harris, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest this evening? Councillor McPherson? 10.2. Can you say that again?
10.2.
And the reason?
Well, it's about election signs, and I might be in one.
Okay.
My name's on it.
Okay. Your name is on one of the signs.
It might be on one of the signs, yes.
All right, so hopefully more than one. As a reminder, councilors are required to submit written statements of declarations via the online form. Are there any other declarations of pecuniary interest this evening? Councillor Ratzlaff? Can you open up your mic?
Yeah, 10.1. My employment relates to that motion.
Names on signs? Or a name on a sign?
Yep.
Perfect.
My boss.
Much appreciated. Okay, so as a reminder, the online form. All right, so seeing no other declarations, motion to move consent reports. There is no motion to move consent reports. There are no consent reports. There are no public meetings. We're just zipping through this. Moving on to item 9.1, presentation from the Niagara Grape and Wine Festival regarding festival outcomes, which was deferred from the meeting of January 27th, 2025. At this time, I will call upon Dorian Anderson, the Executive Director from Niagara Grape and Wine Festival, to present. It's everybody's favorite Dorian. That is 100% accurate, actually. The lectern is yours. I would suggest moving it down. So you can actually use the buttons over on the side there?
These?
I was really hoping someone who was shorter would make a presentation because I haven't been able to see the counselors down the middle the whole meeting. And so like I can hear Bill, but I can't see Bill. So
I feel like I'm back in public school as the shortest kid in class again.
And it's appreciated.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to see everyone again. And first of all, thank you very much for delaying January 27th. I was barely able to speak after 3 weeks of Ice Wine Festival activities, but I'm feeling much better. So I appreciate everybody postponing and allowing me to speak today. So we have some exciting things. We're going to share the 2024 year in review with you, and then speak a little bit about what's on the plans for 2025. I will say I had hoped after COVID that I would never have to hear or use the word pivot ever again. But 2024 basically brought that word back for everybody in the Grape and Wine Festival world. So just moving to the next slide. Just a reminder, am I doing slides or how does you do them? Okay, perfect. So as we all, I think everyone here knows that Grape and Wine Festival has been a favorite event of the residents of St. Catharines since 1951. So that is 74 years this coming September. So big party next year. And Grape and Wine is obviously the main part of what we do at the Grape and Wine Festival, that being the September Festival hosted in St. Catharines. But we also host festivals 3 other times a year. Just completed the Ice Wine Festival. We have a Spring Sparkles Festival at the end of March, as well as our Summer Festival that we host in partnership with the Benchlands and Niagara-on-the-Lake in June and July. So we are the stewards of the Niagara Grape and Wine Festival, and it's a role that we love and a role that we take very seriously. Next slide, please. So an executive summary from 2024. We underwent significant changes, as all of you know. So the main one was to shift the Fall Festival from 2 weekends in Montebello Park to 1 weekend in Montebello Park, largely due to the increases in operational costs and the fact that we weren't covering our costs for the first weekend. We are responsible, we feel, to the community to make sure that the festival is affordable, which means a free entry into Montebello Park, free access to the parade, of course, and keeping wine and food prices modest. So that was really the main reason why we wanted to cut down our operational expenses to allow the community to continue to enjoy the festival. We also had a couple of other ideas that we had thrown out and we were going to try, one being a downtown St. Catharines event during the first weekend. We'll speak about that a little bit more, but that wasn't able to come to fruition last year, with the exception of our friends at the Performing Arts Center that stepped up and did a really fun event on September 20th, a country music a concert that they hosted as part of our programming, which was great. And then we also had Return of Event in the Tent, which was a pilot event that we did last year. It was popular. Everyone that attended loved it. But unfortunately, again, due to the rising infrastructure costs and some specific to that event site, the event had considerable losses. So we were happy to be able to host something, but that is not something that we're looking to bring back this year at this point, but we are looking at alternative venues. And then, of course, we had the rain at Montebello Park on the Saturday night. So that was certainly something that wasn't expected, and it was I would say the volume of rainfall that happened in that short period of time was something I haven't seen ever. But it contributed to about a $100,000 revenue shortage. So those 90 minutes that we had to shut are traditionally the time of year that we bring in close to $100,000 in food and beverage sales. But one thing I would like to note, though, is a shout out to the special events team here at the city. So Deputy Fire Chief Andrea de Jong and Andrea Miele, when they first implemented the new special events plan, it seemed a bit cumbersome and a lot of paperwork. But when it came to evacuating the park, that emergency plan we had in place was invaluable. So I just wanted everyone to know in the event sector, sometimes process really comes in handy. So I wanted to give a big kudos to that department for that emergency plan. So just to highlight a couple things, festival highlights from 2024. We had 5 days of programming in downtown St. Catharines. 131,000 is our estimated attendance, with about 31% of those being tourists. With an economic impact of approximately $5 million in tourism spending, and that's generated through the province's TREAM model. We had 21 VQA wineries and 17 local culinary partners, and our online engagement was about 675,000 visits to our website just during the fall festival period. So one thing I felt as the executive director, it's my responsibility to bring to the attention of council slide, is some of the challenges that the festival and event industry are facing. I know that John Potts was here recently speaking about RibFest, and he and I have been working together on some efficiencies. But really, when it comes to it, the word industry crisis has come to mind. We have huge festivals all across the world that are either canceling or changing. Corporate sponsorships are down 40 to 50%. Prominent festivals like Burning Man and Luminato have lost up to 50% of their major corporate sponsors. And 60 festivals in Europe have been canceled or postponed due to these funds. So I wanted to make it clear that our Grape and Wine Festival will be continuing, and guests will not be seeing much of the difference, but we're going to be working really hard on the back end and the operational side to find efficiencies to make sure that we're keeping this festival sustainable moving forward. So a couple key changes just to that we're all relating to these financial challenges. So the streamlined programming in Montebello Park, the reduction to one weekend, we'll be continuing with that next year. So we will be focusing the last full weekend in September. The Global Flavors night market cancellation. So this was a big learning for us. Lots of great ideas, lots of brainstorming with the Downtown Association. Essentially what it came down to is the fee structure and budget. What we thought as a festival could work wasn't really something that was going to work for the downtown businesses. And frankly, if it's not going to work for people and make them happy, what's the sense to do it? So thanks to Rachel and her team for lots of brainstorming and great ideas. We're not necessarily putting it away forever, but we're going to shelve it for a while since we know it takes a little bit. It was our first Montebello main stage concert. So we had Kim Mitchell and Crash Test Dummies in the park. Ticket went to community care. So we had approximately about a $4,500 donation to community care as a result of grant funds focused at doing a Thursday night concert in Montebello again. So we had Nick and the Nice Guys there. We had about 1,000 attendees. People had a great time operate. So I am looking at alternative venues to one of the highlights was introducing Celebration Sunday. So this was a bit of a spin-off from the Global Night Market. We pulled all of our talent day. So we had tons of cultural groups. We had lots of dancers and Irish festival to work with Strut to bring back something with the Niagara Artist Center. But once again, once we got into operational costs, it wasn't a feasible plan. So that's something, again. So one of the things, as I mentioned, we are very excited about, whether it's through suppliers or working together with owned, get everyone smiling and excited. But I would like everybody here to know that, and very tight, to make sure that we are not only delivering a great fest, keeping our reserves intact. Here's just a little bit of, we had about 58, which we think is closer to 80%, were residents of Niagara, close to 80%. a concert on the Thursday night. We're going to work on theming entertainment so that it's something Performing Arts Center. We're working with Andrea and the team here. I promise you'll have a great time when you're there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the strong American dollar, are you going to do more advertising?
We have about 20% of our budget is allocated to American advertising. One of the really exciting things that's happened in the last few months on the lake, working together on sort of collective marketing initiatives. So for example, with Ice Wine, managing our budgets more effectively. So we're looking to do that type of thing moving forward so that we can have a bit of a bigger spend in the US market.
But you're not changing your advertising budget to put more money into these states?
Well, it really depends on funding. So a lot of our advertising budgets for tourism markets come out of government grant funding in March. At this point, I can't say that we will be increasing the US, our newer markets from there.
Thank you.
Council, being on the board of the Grape or Niagara that we spend, as far as grants, but as much as we normally get last year?
We didn't get as much as the previous year, so all of the COVID-related available last year, but we did get some federal funding. We did less than the year before.
70,000 less. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Dorian. I'm sure employees of the wineries, and particularly the migrant worker asked, and I'm just if that's still top of
the Celebration Sunday. Part of the theme of that day was actually designed to be appealing and something that some of those formal programming done through the festival, we've had a lot of feedback from, and then there's also a lot of these employees that work on Sundays or work on specific, don't have the budget to provide shuttle transportation, kind of a plan to make that happen. So our spend some time in the park.
Yeah, and I think that's a great harvest festival. Having those doing the harvesting seems appropriate. So hopefully that's a conversation. And again, if there's if there's any connections I can help with, and them as well. So thank you for the presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Are there any other questions? By Councillor McPherson. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Moving on. All right, so we have 10 points.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Just trying to get my video on here. Here we go. Good evening to all of you, members of Council 2024. We do have some changes from the audit plan that you would have seen in the prior year, and I will highlight those changes and in any other items that titled highlights, which I believe is on page 4. Very good. So in terms of audit highlights, just as a reminder, notable change in the underlying accounting standards, which I will profile just in a few minutes. From a materiality standpoint, we do set a dollar threshold. Materiality is set at $6.6 million. There is some science that goes behind how this number is determined, which I, again, certainly if we look at what has changed, we'll perform some procedures on the data in the old system and compare it to the data in the new system. So that would be one important highlight. The 400. We will have discussions with management in terms of assessing the impact of the adoption of that new standard. From a auditing standpoint, this is the how. For a group audit. Group audit means that your consolidated financial statements. Moving further in the report, individually, $6.6 million is a big number. We have a much lower top, $330,000. So if there's one number to remember in my presentation, it would be $330,000. When we come to council, we will be bringing those forward for discussion with all of you when the time comes. And all of the numbers that you see on, so we're comfortable that these are appropriate figures to use to guide our audit. Moving forward in the report, I did make the comment that this is a group audit, provides a list of all the different components. We as KPMG perform work on each of these components as they are listed here on the slide. The one change from 2023 to 2024 is that we do have, audit procedures on the Municipal Development Corp, Tourism St. Catharines, and we were also a change at the region of Niagara. We are also the auditors of the Canada Games Park. So effectively, we are auditing 100% of the total. Moving further in the report, generally it's in the areas that are listed on the screen in terms of revenues, revenue recognition, government grants, tangible at the beginning of each bullet point. Management, think of this as the work that we do to ensure that associated with revenue recognition. This is also given the nature of the revenues that you earn with the city, for example, taxation revenues, government. However, the management override of controls, that risk is not rebuttable. So we design to the extent that your management team prepares manual journal entries or other automated entries using certain criteria, we test the journal entries to make sure that they make sense with municipal operations and the expectations of running. We have profiled in some of these slides, some of the granular procedures that we perform, dive that we would have done in 2023. If I may ask with respect to the key milestones, which I believe is on, had discussions with management to set the audit schedule according to the expectations of the city. We have had discussions about according to the timing that you see on the slide. Certainly, if it is requested of us to change our timing, absolutely we will report. It's always important to talk about independence on slide number 17. Absolutely critical for us as auditors to always remain independent. We are here to audit, not put into a position where we are auditing our own work. To the extent to make sure that across all of Canada, if there's any services that are provided to the city, it needs to be put through our professional rules that govern independence. There are a number of appendices that are included in this report. The individuals that set accounting standards have come up with a significant change, which will not impact you in 2024, but in that eliminates some of the terms that you may be used to seeing in your financial statements. We have not profiled these changes as part of this audit plan, which is for 2024. But what we will do is that when we present, will happen later down the road in a few years. Also, I would like to mention that with kind of communication between yourselves and your auditors throughout the entire process, if there are any concerns, report to you later this year. We will ask questions about whether or not anyone has any way method of communication between council and the auditors. So that would cover what I would consider and put that back to you, the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarez. Are there any questions or comments regarding the presentation? Councillor Stevens, Councillor Kushner. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Council Presentation 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be brief. Really, the Citizens First deals with on a daily basis and talk about some of the, I think we're making some really good progress. The mayor stole a little bit of thunder talking about the AI chatbot that the city. This is something that was in my work plan with council to look at, to review both Citizens First and communications. We are doing that. We're modernizing all of those elements, trying to improve how we are communicating with the public in all methods, social media, in person, over the web, over the telephone, all of those different avenues. We've done some amazing work, I think, in the last several years, and this is really an opportunity for council to see some of the stats and what goes in behind the scenes at Citizens First. So,
as part of our organizational excellence pillar, as mentioned, he'll be presenting on Citizens First. The accomplishments that he's brought an approach of looking at our data and integrating that into our procedures, we believe is excellence. So I believe you will appreciate the information that's being shared with you this evening. I'm also excited about future plans, and now we've had 2 individuals already touch on it. I will pass the baton over to Jonathan, and if he wants to take over, I really appreciate your...
Just going to 2 seconds, shut my door so my assistant doesn't come back in. Because while you were talking, my cat decided to come. It's a pleasure to meet everyone there. I am Jonathan Wright, the manager of customer service for the city of St. Catharines. I come to the city with over 20 years of customer service in delivering exceptional customer service, optimizing operations, and driving strategic projects by being engaged and connected to my team and staying connected to the customer's journey as they access city services. I also work with multiple experts throughout the Niagara region and beyond. I'm a problem solver at heart and simple for both staff, member, and council. I'm extremely proud. They're passionate and they want to excel in customer service. They are the front line, and I know they are human, and there are times where we will not have perfect days, but in the end, they are hardworking, caring, and always looking for ways. It's a never-ending journey in our eyes, but the successes we've achieved together and the impact we have made in such a short period of time is something that I believe we should be celebrating. If you can go a bit wordy, I know it looks not too much on your end, but I do want to explain what Citizens First in person, by email, or over the phone. We are there. We are the generalists, but also the hub for information at the city. We provide the public with customer service excellence in the best way possible. When you look at customer service sector, and especially municipal level of government, customer service is diverse. And in Citizens First, we look at customer service in 4 different types. That is usually a single transaction with a customer from start to finish. Then we have a second tier, which would be clients. These are your residents and business owners in the community who pay property taxes or have continuous investments in the interactions they have with the city. The next one would be claimants. Claimants are those residents and business owners that need to qualify for a service. So the sidewalk snow removal or for a small business grant. And then the last level of customers that we have are compliant. They have to follow a very specific set of guidelines, and the deviations that you would normally expecting in the world of customer service, it's very hard. We're highly rating is that we focus on building trust and confidence with the public. That is our bottom line in government, in my opinion. We do services for the community and spend the tax dollars appropriately. We strive to not only provide a simple way to as in the community can live, work, play, and grow with confidence that their government. The Citizens First team that you'll see broken down on this slide, it consists of a mix of full and part-time individuals who care about the based on the channel of choice for the public. With this flexibility, we can pivot quickly to be available to the public depending on the channel of choice. An example, if we have a storm event or more staff on the phones as possible to answer that volume. Another fun fact just for Citizens First to give you an idea of kind of what we do, only assist the public, but also other departments. So for customer service and Citizens First, it is diverse, and we do use quite a bit to be able to get to it quick. If you can go to the next slide, please. So the overview, because I want to stay aware of the time I have. So one thing that we do, we collaborate for improvement. So we work with various city departments to continuously enhance, and that's a lot of payments that we process, which you'll see later on in the presentation. So every time someone reports a problem online, that's us putting it into the software to get it going out to Municipal Works to review bylaw, complaints that come in. So when you call in and have a complaint, let's say about long grass and weeds, we are the ones who take the complaint. So we assist residents in navigating self-serve options using the city website and any troubleshooting that we may have. So we're going to get into now KPIs, which are key performance indicators. So hopefully, great job making it a little bit nicer for everyone to look at. But the main thing to take away from this is when we look at from 2022 till now, or till 2024, we are closing that gap. We're not there yet. We still have room to improve. Another thing to note is that May to August, consistently, and it's going back to like 20 winter storms, you know, the potholes, any bylaw. If you can go to the next slide for me, please. So this, and we have a target. The target is 5%. That was directed by council. It is a target that we've been working towards to achieve. A huge win for us, or when I call that, right now for January 2025 resident that does call in through the phone channel. The highest abandonment rates too, just resources. So one thing to always think about, customer service, we are usually the entry level position in any knowledge base is so large. So when we lose a staff member, and thankfully it's usually internal, so they're moving on to somewhere else in the city, and then it's about 6 months to a year before their knowledge base is even built up to understanding high. So when we lose staff, our abandonment rate and our ability to service these channels, it is affected. Quite surprising to me that residents are abandoning on average 84, hanging up before even 2 minutes to get through. So we have introduced some technique of those things just to give you an idea. Is messaging we put on the phone, announcing what number you are in the queue. So if you hear that there's only 3 ahead of you, you'll stay on. Those kind of little technique. Next slide, please. So the next one here is talking about the email channel. So as you can probably assume that ever since the pandemic, self-serve's really picked up everywhere, and we're no different. So for email volume, I only have really 2024 captured fully, but we did 10,000 emails for 2024, which is quite a bit. And when we referred it back to 2023, it was a 20% increase alone, which is quite a bit. And we do create standard email templates to our responses. And that's just to keep our messages consistent for certain inquiries we get that are constant and very general, that we're able to action those emails quickly. Because we do have a 2 business day service level that we try to achieve. So we try to get through to everybody within two business days. And when we have a storm event, so just like what happened this weekend with all that snow, earlier in January with all those multiple water main breaks and also snow, it jumps our emails over the weekend. So January 2025, there's this little red dot on there for you to give you just a visual. We were at 861 emails for the month, where last year we were at 558. So we're definitely seeing that residents are using that channel to communicate with us. And it is increasing depending on what's going on, if there's more snow or other events that happen. If you can go to the next slide, please. So for department of inquiries that would have went to all of these other divisions if we weren't here. We do 70, so we're 1% shy of that. And when we look at resolved on first contact, or if we create a work order, it's not considered resolved on first contact because it's going somewhere else to be actioned or reviewed for call volume wise of what we're diverting for those. We have also introtype that Citizens First is taking. I review and score it based on customer service. If you can go to that, residents are moving more towards self-serve. So we like to access services with ease. Serve to access information should find it simple and easy. Currently, we are moving from an accessible format. As we move, so with our email responses and with our phone targets for our phone and counter services, if residents were residents submitting the report and issue online, Lee has to review, make sure it's correct. Working on new applications and software, CityWorks is in the works, which will automate those processes for us, where then we only need to review the data and we don't actually have to manually input it. If you can go to the next slide for me. So this one will probably surprise a lot of people, as you can imagine, for Citizens First not only having to be 2024, we did over 30,000 transaction pieces of mail were processed. And to give you an idea, when it comes to mail and consuming to do that channel. So one big thing that we introduced last year, we went from $460,000 in 24. So right there alone is showing the impact of and online options. It's making staff available to be able to perform tasks. So from that, we're getting that residents are not carrying around as much cash at a payment now. And the largest one through their mobile app and make a payment to the city through their bank. Process most of the times. We have mistyped their account number. It would take us 2 hours during tax installment because the volume's high. We've lowered that to now under an hour. And that's just by reaching out to the banks and working on some back-end work to make it a smoother process for us all. So there's our finance piece for you. It's quite amazing when you look at what we do and how much money we handle in Citizens First for all these areas. And yeah, I'll go to the next slide. I'm just trying to be cognizant of time because I don't know how much I'm at. So service enhancement wins. We did a lot in 2024. I can't take all the credit. Yes, I was here, but it was my team that brought through a lot of great ideas. And I just worked with my expertise to fine tune it into something that we could release. So I'm not sure, Council, if you have it in front of you, but one of the big ones was the citizen rack cards that we did. Those citizen rack cards were actually an idea from that we used to write addresses, like web addresses, on Post-it notes at the counter. When residents wanted to know, like, where do I go to fill out for a building permit online? So we took that and we made these rack cards with all of the most frequently requested services that residents would ask us at the counter and at other counters at City Hall, and made these really easy to use rack cards. You can scan the QR code and it brings you right to that information. And then FMS was awesome in collaborating with us on this, and it actually goes out in every single new homeowner's letter that we send out in St. Catharines. So every new homeowner, when they get a letter from the city explaining the admin fees and everything to do with property taxes, these 3 rack cards are included as well. And that's our way of trying to set the resident up for success right from the beginning. So as soon as they become a citizen, we want to make sure that they have what they need at their fingertips and that it's accessible for them. A few other things that we did, we introduced a self-serve kiosk, which was kind of fun. IT helped us with this, so it was all in-house. And we have right now 2. We have one at City Hall and we had one at Kiwanis. I think we just took it out a couple weeks ago, just do some security updates. And we're also planning a larger rollout for the self-serve kiosk. We do want them at Seymour, Hannah, and other locations. And original state of the kiosk, we had to update them one by one. And IT is working on a process that we can update it remotely from City Hall to all of the kiosks wherever they're located. So something really exciting that's coming down. People do use it. It's nice to see. It's just another way to promote self-serve. Residents can get all of these buttons that are on the kiosk through their cell phone if they go on our website. But what we're trying to do is make self-serve accessible to those who maybe are not comfortable with self-serve or maybe are afraid to use it. And we want it to be there so they can see how easy it is to navigate and how easy it is to just make a payment if you want to pay your bill online, sign up for DocuPet for your dog license. We did all those little things to just make it easier for the resident and also promote the great self-serve options that we do have. One last other thing that I would point out that we've done is that we did introduce a dedicated website page for Citizens First. We did want to be branded and on the site for ourselves, but the main thing is that this is like kind of our general hub of information. So everything that you would think that a resident would call for is probably on that page or links out to where it needs to be. So it was just a quick directory for residents to go, because our website has over 500 pages. It is hard to navigate if you're new to it. So we tried to give a general little page with quick links to where they needed to be. And then if we go to the next slide, I'll talk about some stuff that we're coming forward into 2025, possibly 2026, depending on how the year goes. I'm not going to touch on all of these, but a couple things to talk about is that we are hoping for a customer relation management software, which is a CRM. You'll probably hear it in the future. We are wanting to move into this type of technology. As I said at the beginning of this presentation, we use over 25 applications and platforms to access information and answer inquiries. A CRM would basically integrate with majority of our software that is used in other departments and give us that one-stop shop where we can just access everything through one portal. A fun thing for council, I'm sure you would enjoy, is you could call and say, Bob Smith called and you wanted to follow up on a work order. We'd be able to look Bob Smith up and be able to see if he's called about a tax bill, called about his water bill, called about his dog, called about the work order, where the work order is, if it's complete, all in one spot, instead of navigating all of these different applications to find that information for you. Another thing that we introduced, it was early this year, so it's already out, is our Citizens First Quality Management, which I talked about earlier. And then a fun thing for Citizens First staff, we did LinkedIn Learning for Citizens First. They do have mandatory development in that learning program. So they do have to do 15 hours a year of development, but it's our way of showing that we're investing in them and that we want to see them grow into a better employee. And whether it's stuff that they're looking at for customer service focused, or if they want to move into finance, they want to work on their Excel skills and everything else, all of those little programs are there for them to learn. So it's a really great tool. They really enjoyed it. So I'm really happy to see all these upcoming projects that we're trying to achieve for 2025. And then we'll go to the next slide, please. So Catherine, I don't know if you guys have seen it. I love it. Comms, you did an amazing job. Graphics, fantastic. Really, it was a lot of departments in the city that helped bring Catherine to life. IT was extremely important. They've helped us through everything, through the back end of it. Every other department there in the city, before we went live, actually tested Catherine and gave us feedback so we could kind of be proactive and help set this up for success. We did a lot of cleanup on it as well, with old news stories, taking them off the website. But Catherine is your digital assistant. So anything that's on the city website, Catherine will find it. Sometimes we might have to alter the way we word things, and that might just be on our end for the website. If we're speaking too technical, we might have to go to more of how the public wants to search those pages. And we'll be managing and reviewing those statistics throughout the first 3 months of the pilot every 2 weeks. And then after that, hopefully it will be a little bit smoother where we can let it run on its own a little bit. But we will always have the human part behind it. So there will always be myself and IT pulling reports and reviewing them. And we also have our FSR assisting us with this program as well. I don't know if we have time, and if we don't, that's totally okay. That I could show you how Catherine works on the website. But if we don't have time, that's okay, because it's very easy to access Catherine on the city website anyways.
I would agree that it is actually very easy, and I think we're going to forego an example at this time just because we're clocking in close to half an hour right now. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. I have one last.
As my chief of staff mentioned, this is an incredibly important presentation, and it's good for the community to see it. but I will say Catherine is incredibly intuitive and user-friendly, so I don't think it needs, I think if people click on the link on the website, it'll be quite easy to figure out.
Perfect. So I just have one last slide and I'll go through it really quick. But this is basically a summary of everything we just talked about. So it's just showing our ongoing service excellence journey. So while we're acknowledging that there's still a road ahead and there's opportunities for improvement, I am proud of the strides that we have made and we continue to make in this journey. This service excellence journey is ongoing, it's never ending. And that means we're always going to be checking, creating, and moving targets as our world and community evolves. We're listening and gathering feedback from our residents to tell us what's working and what's not. We're gathering and analyzing data to make evidence-based decisions that support the community. We're constantly striving for excellence, listening to you, our council, and making decisions that align to the strategic plan. We're implementing new technology, ideas, and strategies that support service excellence. As mentioned, investments in technology help free up capacity to serve everyone. And lastly, continuous improvement. I want to make sure we continue to set goals, meet or exceed, and then establish more, always moving, changing, and evolving. Lastly, I'd just like to say thank you. I'm grateful for my team, Citizens First staff. They're always coming to me with ideas, with the residents' experience in mind. Thank you to all the departments and divisions that have collaborated with me for the last year and a half. And thank you, council and residents, for listening to me tonight. I know I'm a talker and I apologize, but I just wanted to make sure I hit everything for you guys tonight.
Mr. Wright, absolutely no reason to apologize whatsoever. It was very informative. I've got a couple of questions coming from councilors. I'll start with Councillor Miller.
Thank you. And yeah, thank you, Jonathan, for the presentation. I know it's sometimes thankless work in customer service, especially at this level. But I will say, I think even anecdotally, I can tell the difference. I do get a lot less complaints about our customer service, and I think people are noticing that they're getting through quicker, and the information's easier for them to access. So kudos on that. I just have a couple questions. With regards to the sort of staff turnover and then the amount of time it takes to get that knowledge base up, which of course makes sense, and I think if we were the private sector, we would probably realize a problem there and increase the salary to try to retain people. But, it's more difficult for us to do. I'm just curious, are we doing anything to try to reduce that time frame of getting someone up to speed? I think you said it's sort of 6 to 12 months. And if we're going to see sort of regular turnover, which again, because it's an entry-level position, makes sense, we can't do too much about, are there any steps we're taking to try to cut that 6 to 12 months down?
Through the mayor to councillor, absolutely. We've been trying to fine tune our onboarding process. We do have a Citizens First University binder, which I know sounds very old fashioned, but it's a 4-inch binder. And that's just an introduction to what we do. We've actually networked with all the divisions in the city of St. Catharines, and they've bring subject matter experts to us. And we actually continuously reach out to them for refreshers to try to get staff who may have missed a previous training session to get up to date. And we are looking at ways to improve the way our knowledge bases are. So as much as we'd like to think we know it all, to be honest, we use a knowledge base to grab our information fast. And that's what we rely on. So we have introduced some little tweaks to it, but there's definitely still room for improvement on it.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, it's very difficult that the city's involved in a lot of things, and every 2 weeks at council, I'm sure those things change a little bit. So it's a tough job to stay on top of everything. You mentioned, I think, in terms of the self-directed, are we, I'm just curious about languages. Are we able to provide, especially digital service in alternative languages, or where are we at in terms of providing services to those who English is a second language or are still just learning English? Like, what are their options, I guess, for customer service with us?
Really, really good question through your mayor to council. So we do have an amazing translation service for over the phone and in person. When it comes to online, all of our information currently is in English. Catherine itself as well is set to English. It does have the ability to do multiple languages. But right now we have limited that, and that's just so that when we're pulling reporting, we want to make sure that we're understanding everything clearly before we try to open that and venture down that avenue for the digital age. But if a resident needs help, we're always there. We have a translation service that we use. Even in person, it's a video service so that we have a translator there and it's video interactive. We can even do sign language in person. So we do have that tool for those two channels. But when it comes to digital, we're still English only.
Yeah, and I know that the different browsers offer translation service, but it's sort of imperfect. I guess my only maybe note might be some of the printed, like some of those who might, you mentioned the rack cards. Like if we had the option, I'm imagining there's maybe an expense involved in that, but having those in other languages by request, like maybe not including them. But anyway, it sounds like you're doing a great job there, and the team's doing great. So keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Councillor Williamson.
Yeah, I was very impressed with the enthusiasm, the professionalism, and the positive approach that certainly is evident. I guess my misconception about Citizens First is it was more about dealing with complaints and being sort of the entry point or the first point of customer service, and then you're referring it to other departments. My impression now is that you're trying to handle and resolve issues up front. Am I correct in that understanding?
Yep, through your mayor to council. We do try our best. Because we are generalists, we only have a certain level of scope that we can do. But if we are able to answer the general information and guide them to those services, we will. When we require a subject matter expert, that's where we don't have that resolved on first contact. And that's usually to do with, let's say, for building permits, we don't touch anything with building or planning or zoning. It's very regulated. We don't want to get it wrong. So that definitely would be something that we would transfer or refer the resident to go down to the first floor to speak to someone in PBS. But all the departments that we do provide value to, so taxes, water, parking, bylaw, all of those, we have a huge knowledge base, articles of very general and internal processes that we follow to make sure we're consistent and we're not missing what they need to do their job if it does escalate to their area.
Thank you. And then you had a slide that I don't remember what number it was. Incoming call trend was decreasing, as well as the number of calls that are getting answered or not abandoned. I guess that the decreasing number of calls would result from people not redialing. Is that essentially why that? Yeah, you just spoke there for a minute. You spooked me.
Yeah, through your mayor to council. So that's the main big thing to take away from that slide. I think it was slide 6. It basically, when people were abandoning, they were hanging up and calling back, right? And especially a lot of people were calling on their lunch. They couldn't get through, they'd hang up, they'd call the next day. So our incoming calls were so high because residents weren't getting through at all. Or if they were waiting 15 to 30 minutes to get through to a Citizens First representative. So as the incoming calls are decreasing, but our calls answering are increasing. So that's all to do with the abandonment rate and then all of the other little tweaks that we've done. So we should be seeing hopefully a more closing of that gap throughout the next couple of years.
Thank you. And then, and it might have been hidden by your image on the screen, but I get a fair number of calls about streetlights out, and I've mastered, it's not that difficult, the streetlight form. Do you provide that service to citizens, or do you refer them to the form to do it themselves?
Through your mayor to council. So we do offer them to, if they want to do it themselves, they can, and we can assist them through it. We do submit it for them as well. The fun thing is that those forms, they do come to us as well. So when you guys submit them through, we do have automations in place to have it go to the appropriate areas depending on what you're selecting on that form. And then other ones come to us to action out to the departments that need to be involved from EFES.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the presenter, yes, you guys must be doing a good job because the amount of calls from residents to us complaining about Citizens First has almost been down to nothing now that I've had, so good job there. Just one question I'm just a little confused on incoming and answered. The difference there, so incoming calls and then the answer calls, so the difference would be people are hanging up, so it's kind of like the same as the abandonment rate? I was just kind of, there's two graphs, but it's basically saying the same kind of thing. Just wanted to kind of clarify that for myself.
Thank you. So from mayor to council, yes, exactly. So they go hand in hand. We do have them, we look at them separate because they're separate targets that we look at. But really in the end, your answer rate should be 95%, your abandonment rate should be 5%. So that's why they do go hand in hand. And I'm sorry if there was a little bit of confusion, but they coincide with each other, right? So if less people are hanging up, they're not repeat callers. So we're not getting that increased call volume of calls that we're not actually able to answer. So hopefully we'll be around, I think, that comfort of the 68,000 incoming, and then we're answering as close to those as we can.
And one other thing, I think it's new is that we're now getting emails back from Citizens First with the answers. I don't think we ever had that before. So I'm getting emails from Citizens First of a complaint of a resident comes to you guys, and then I'm seeing it coming to us. I guess that's just information, and if that's the case, that's good, and thank you.
No problem. Yeah, through your mayor to council, we do try our best to keep you in the loop, especially because we don't want you to think that we didn't action it or that it wasn't reviewed. Usually by time, sometimes when you get the complaint, we've also received it through phone or email. It's not always, one of us isn't the first one in that sense. So we try to reach out to those. If you sent the email, we will reply to you, letting you know it's been actioned and what the outcome was if there was a work order created, just to keep you in the loop in case they call you instead of calling us.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kushner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Simple question. What's the best time to call Citizens First?
Great question. Through mayor to council, I had a graph on this. We took it off because my presentation was long enough as it was. The quick answer is there's no real good time to call, in the sense that we are constantly busy throughout the day. Our call volume is constant from the moment we open at 8:30 till 5 p.m. But if you are looking for like the best time, I would say before noon, to be honest. Anything after noon is when you start to see the service levels start to spike as people are getting off work or they're on their lunch. So we start having a lot more incoming calls at that time. And that's why we have part-time staff to help alleviate those during the busy times.
All right, thank you, Councillor Kushner. Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excellent presentation. Some of us around the table, I think the mayor was with us when CAO Carnegie brought Citizens First to St. Catharines, and basically it was just call answering, and that was all it is. So, or it was. I'm very impressed. To be honest with you, I didn't realize the scope of what Citizens First does right now. As far as these rack cards are concerned, you mentioned that you send them out to new residents. I think it's something that as many residents as possible should be getting. Do you have any ideas of how you're going to get them out to most of the residents in St. Catharines?
Through your mayor to council, it wasn't something that I had planned yet, just because I don't really have a budget for those rack cards to go out to every resident at this time, but it is something that I can take back with me to look at a smart way to do it and an efficient way to do it that's not too costly for us. We do print all those in-house, so the print shop at City Hall does all that for us, which is fantastic work, and they've sized it so it can go on all the envelopes as well.
Yeah, sure. As a suggestion, when the mayor has his open houses in the various wards, if we had a few of these or many of these at his events to give out, I think that would be a very positive way of handling it. Also, I really like the idea of when I call, I'm told I'm caller number 3 or something like that, because it really shows that you're organized. I like that when I get that if I'm calling a company or a bank or something like that, because I know if I'm caller 16, well then adios, but if I'm caller number 3, then I can wait, but I always feel that they're organized and being able to tell me where I am. So thanks very much for your presentation. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips, and we may have found yet another use for the water bill. Who knows? The Director of Financial Management Services just groaned, so that maybe not, I don't know. I do appreciate that suggested to put them on the town hall so that it winds up being a part of my budget, so there you go, good call. I don't see any other questions or comments, so I'll just say, Mr. Wright, I do want to give you kudos. You know, customer service is extremely difficult to get right. And I know all of council has dealt with complaints from residents over the course of, well, I've been here for 15 years, a couple of councilors significantly longer than that, and it's always something that frustrates folks when they deal with City Hall. But I can say, and a couple of councilors have already mentioned it, the number of complaints we've received over the last year has dropped and continues to drop, and I know my office gets a lot of those complaints, or did get a lot of those complaints and doesn't really get complaints anymore. So I want to say congratulations to you because you wrestled a very angry tiger to the ground, and I think you've done a very good job of it. So kudos to you and to your team.
Thank you.
Excellent. Can I have a motion to receive the presentation? Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Harris. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. All right, I'm just going to look to the clerk. There is a bit of an issue with the YouTube streaming, and so staff have asked if we could take a 5-minute break so they can reset the internet connection in the building, because apparently residents at home are having difficulty seeing the stream, and we want to make sure we're being as open and transparent as possible. So if we can take a 5-minute recess, we will be back. It is a 5-minute recess, so let's try and be back in the next 15 minutes. And we're back. To those folks at home, my apologies for the internet problems we were apparently having, and I hope it is coming through 5x5 for all of you who have tuned in tonight. I know it is a big crowd. We are going to move on to discussion reports 10.2, Legal and Clerk Services, Office of the City Clerk, bylaw to manage and regulate election signs. Before we get started, we will hear a few words from our acting city clerk, Donna Del Vecchio, and some introductory comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is before council tonight to consider a bylaw to manage and regulate election signs. Creating an election sign bylaw was an initiative that we identified with our area CAOs and clerks following the 2022 municipal and school board election. We're looking to provide a consistent bylaw with consistent language across all of our area municipalities, while also recognizing the fact that we're all unique, but because we share common boundary lines, we thought it's important to sort of work together on this initiative. As we're working along, we came across finding ourselves in this situation for a by-election for Ward 6. So we expedited our review, and it is before you tonight for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Del Vecchio. So we have an amended recommendation that's going to be moved by Councillor Harris. The council approve a bylaw to manage and regulate election signs attached as Appendix 1 with the following amendments made to Section 6.2. So if we could just bring those amendments up. And these are the amendments that had been discussed about ensuring that signs only be on residential or mixed-use zone, so where people live. Places of residence. We included mixed-use zone because in mixed-use zones we do have residential units as well. And that the following line, no signs are permitted in land zoned commercial, industrial, employment, agriculture, or institutional. So that is the amended bylaw. Can I have a seconder on that? Councillor Kushner, thank you. The A-team comes through again. If there are any questions or comments, I have Councillor Williamson up first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the clerk. The one kind of gray area that I find, and maybe it just needs clarification, is that there's not to be signs on public property, and that we define boulevard as from the sidewalk to the road. But oftentimes the property line is quite farther up than people realize into on a front lawn. So are we allowing it's going to be difficult, I think, for enforcement to know where the actual physical property line is, the boundary line, where it goes from public to private and residential. So as long as the sign is like inside the sidewalk or a bit of distance inside the sidewalk, is that going to be acceptable, or how are we going to deal with that one?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there'd be a level of discretion there. The intent is within the frontage of the residential property. So if it's sort of on the other side of the sidewalk, we're not going to take a ruler out or anything like that.
Thank you. And the sign height, I'm trying to figure that out. Where did I have that? Okay, so sign height no higher than 2 meters or 6.6 feet above ground level. So 6.6 feet to the top of where the sign is? Is that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, good, fair enough. Thank you very much. I think it's an excellent report.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Phillips.
Just to relate to Councillor Williamson, when I'm campaigning, I take 2 steps in from the curb or 2 steps in from the sidewalk, and I figured that's close enough. Just to ensure this, what we're doing tonight, is not grandfathered. It is, if you are violating this bylaw tomorrow or today, then it has to be moved. It doesn't matter if that sign was up a week ago, correct?
That is correct. The bylaw will be signed this evening and implemented as of tomorrow.
Thank you. And I will say that this information has been out there for the campaign, so they are aware.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to remind those.
Councillor Kushner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I run a very financially careful campaign, so I carry my sign from house to house. But the comment I'd make, Mr. Mayor, is that whenever we can get together and have a common bylaw with other municipalities in the region, then we should enforce it or accept it.
Thank you, Councillor Kushner. And I will say the musical notes are still one of my favorite things about municipal campaigns. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to say I don't agree with the amendment. I've had people talk to me. If I'm a business owner and my business is out in Western Hill, yet I live over, I live in a different ward, but I want to support the candidate, especially in the ward system, and I can't show my support by putting up the sign. You know, I'm a business owner, I'm a taxpayer, and I should be able to put one sign on my commercial property if I own it. And I've had people tell me that, so I will not agree with that amendment.
Okay, just for clarity, the business owner can still put a sign up in the window. This is about the property outside of the building, so that's still allowed. In the window of the business, that's still allowed, not on the property, that's all. All right, Councillor Lindell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to also say this is a wonderful bylaw, and it's well needed. It does tend to get a lot of garbage kind of look when you see so many signs piled up so far in so many different businesses. My one question would be through you, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, one sign per candidate means that if you have a house divided, you can have more than one sign on your front lawn.
That is very correct. That is generally the situation in my house. So yes, you can have multiple signs up during an election, but just for different candidates.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. I have Councillor Townsend is next.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Just to confirm, we certainly do get a lot of, or at least I have, and businesses who do reach out to support candidates. I'm a little concerned about some of the language. You know, at some point one day, you know, maybe I'll put a beautiful sign up at Cat's Caboose, but this amendment doesn't look like it would be allowed with these changes. So, you know, having received in the past businesses reach out to support me, I won't be supporting this. I don't think it sets a good precedent to stop a business from supporting a candidate. So I know you did mention that they can put one in the window, but some of these businesses do support candidates, and I think we should be allowing them to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend. I will say, and just something that I wanted to point out during the course of this debate, but it should be noted that, you know, the province kind of already made this decision with respect to businesses a number of years ago when they stopped allowing donations from businesses, from trade unions and other groups like that. The argument was that in municipal campaigns, and I believe provincially and federally, though I don't remember the financing rules for those, but in municipal campaigns at least, individuals were able to support through financial donations, and this sort of takes that mindset as well. Councillor Stevens.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I forgot I had a question. So on a corner lot, like a single-family house, but I'm on a corner lot, so I'm on two different streets. So as a resident, I can only put it on this way or that way. See, that's where
you could put it on the corner.
Okay, that's not always going to work. So there should be some leeway, something like that, because it's basically, you know, my house is there, but no,
okay.
You know, you have multi. It's not the same as a whole row everywhere. It's basically almost looking on two lots if it's looking on two different streets, in my opinion.
But yet it's not two lots; it's one.
It's perceived. Like
it's not really perceived as two lots; it's one. Councillor Kushner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The question I have is if you're a small business and you want to advertise the election and put everybody's sign up in a very tasteful manner, can you do it?
If it's not outside on the boulevard or the grass, as I said, I mean, a business can put a sign in the window. That's allowed. We're not stopping that from happening. Councillor Harris.
Just to clarify, a business, if it's not on the lawn and if it's on a fence, is that okay? That's attached to the business. In a tasteful manner, and you put everybody's sign up. Like, because it wouldn't be any different than a window, right? So I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, this getting into statutory interpretation here. Thanks for the question. Through the chair to the councillor. You know, the provision talks about on a piece of land, and you know, I think we're getting into a little bit of legal advice here, but I think.
Can I get a motion to go in camera?
Do we need, okay.
Councillor
sure.
Lindell, Councillor Williamson, all those in favor? Opposed? In camera we go.
Or client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Receive the information from in camera. Can Councilor Lindell second it? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. All right, so we're back to talking about the motion that's on the floor. All right, so are there any more questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councillor Harris.
Yes.
Councillor Kushner. Councillor Dodge.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
No.
Councillor Townsend.
No.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes.
Mayor Cisco.
Yes.
That's carried.
St. George's Ward. I understand, Councillor. All right, we're moving on to motions. 11.1, amending the previously set schedule for April 2025. Moving this, we have Councillor Phillips seconding it. We have Councillor Dodge. It is up on the screen. We have to move this because of the by-election. So the by-election is scheduled for April 14th. So we're moving the April 14th meeting to April the 7th, and we are canceling the budget meeting and just bringing forward the budget items directly to City Council that evening. Are there any questions or comments with respect to this item? Seeing none, I'll look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Councillor Dodge.
Yes.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes.
Councillor Townsend.
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Kushner. Councillor Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Cisco.
Yes.
That's carried.
And at this time, I will be asking Deputy Mayor Phillips to take the chair as I'll be moving the next motion.
Okay, 11.2, I have Mayor Cisco moving the motion, and I will be seconding the motion. Mayor Cisco, you want to speak to it, I'm sure? Go ahead.
I know.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, a lot of ink has been spilled over the last couple of weeks with respect to tariffs and the other concerns that have been raised from the new administration south of the border. This motion is calling on the provincial and the federal governments to work together on a response that protects the Canadian economy, including financial aid programs for businesses impacted by tariffs, expanding export opportunities outside of the U.S. market, pushing for exemptions and tariff reductions, and supporting domestic investment by increasing incentives for domestic automotive and EV production. We're also pushing forward the Fortress AmCam idea and request that all municipal organizations and mayors across the province support the initiative. We're also asking the federal and provincial governments to remove impediments to municipalities to preferentially procure from Canadian companies for capital projects and supplies. And I will say, Chair, it's that last clause that I think is the most important. I know the Mayor of Welland has asked his staff to identify what can be done. We are asking that the federal and provincial governments who have the power in this capacity remove whatever restrictions may exist to allow us to be able to move in that direction. We're seeing a lot of municipalities, as I said, the Mayor of Welland has made this move. I know the Mayor of Niagara Falls is looking at options as well. I think all municipalities need to be focused on ensuring that tax dollars that are being taken in those municipalities are being spent in those municipalities. I've had the opportunity over the last couple of months to speak with a number of local groups with respect to the ideas around community benefit agreements when it comes to capital projects. It's something that I've been pushing very hard with the provincial government specifically on some of the infrastructure projects that have been announced for St. Catharines over the last 2 years. But I think it's something that we also have to have the ability to ensure. If we're taking property tax dollars from the people, from the businesses that exist here in St. Catharines, we should be able to preferentially direct those dollars back towards businesses locally if that's feasible and reasonable. It's unfortunate that we're in this situation, but given the damage that could be done to local businesses, that frankly the damage that's already being done to local businesses because of the threat of tariffs and because of the threat of a trade war, I think it's incumbent on us to make sure the public dollars are going to support workers in our community, in our province, before those dollars flow outside of this jurisdiction and into others. So I hope council would support this. It's a pretty lengthy list of folks that we would be sending this motion on to, and I think it clearly lays out why this motion is important. In my role as the treasurer of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, we've been working hard with a number of mayors, over 260 on both sides of the border over the last couple of weeks, to try and push home the message. And I'll give some credit to our American mayors. They have been very supportive of the efforts that the organization, the GLSLCI, has been making to try and ensure that those tariffs don't come into effect. I think we need to be using any and all opportunities with organizations like that, like OBCM, to try and push this message home, because ultimately a trade war is going to do a lot of damage to the local economy. We know that. We know there are almost 9,000 jobs in St. Catharines specifically that rely on exports to the U.S. And so anything we can do to avoid it is important, and that's what the first couple of clauses are about, to try and make sure that we're protecting the Canadian economy. But that last clause also gives us some leeway. So I would hope my colleagues would support the motion, and we can move this forward to upper levels of government to continue to take the fight where it needs to go.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Councillor Dodge?
Can you get them to move the motion up a bit on the screen? It's kind of cut off the bottom for us. I can't see the bottom of it. From whereas municipalities have, okay, thank you.
Let me know when you're ready, Councillor Dodge.
Sorry, that was just my question.
Okay,
Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Miller?
I mean, I had the same request as Councillor Dodge. I guess, but I'll ask a question anyway. Sorry, and I know the mayor mentioned this, but maybe to the mover, could you just provide some more details on what that Fortress AmCam is? I'm ignorant of that currently.
Mayor Cisco?
I was actually going to ask, I'm aware, thank you. I was actually going to ask maybe if Mr. York wants to jump in and just sort of flesh out exactly what Fortress AmCam was. You know, it's a proposal that's been put forward by the provincial government with respect to energy exports and a number of different issues, but I know Mr. York is very well versed on it.
Director York?
Yeah, through the deputy mayor to the mayor, I think you nailed it. With your brief summary, it's a renewed strategic alliance between our two nations, focused on economic success for both countries. We're such an integrated economy, particularly here in Niagara. It makes obvious sense to continue to support what's happening over there and how it affects and impacts what's happening on our side of the border.
Thank you. And just to
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that, Director York.
Thank you, Councillor. And just to add, I don't think I have to tell anybody around the horseshoe. I mean, we are going to be affected significantly given the fact that our trade corridor through the Welland Canal, every time a ship goes up with ore from Septiles to, well, pick a place, Detroit, Chicago, wherever, there's going to be tariffs loaded. When a ship comes out of Goderich and unloads salt in Toledo, there's going to be tariffs. And sooner or later, it's going to be so expensive that the Americans are going to say no more. And when that happens, then we are in danger of having ships laid up. And when we have ships laid up, we have people unemployed, we have businesses that are going to suffer. So I applaud you, Mayor, for putting this forward. And I know the rest of the mayors in the St. Lawrence Great Lakes Initiative are going to follow you, and hopefully somebody in Washington is wiser than what we're hearing right now. Sorry, Councillor Kushner, did you have something? I saw your light on. You're fine. Any other councillors? Okay, thank you. I'll ask the clerk to call the question.
Mayor Cisco?
Yes.
Councillor Williamson?
Yes.
Councillor Townsend?
Yes.
Councillor Stevens?
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff?
No.
Councillor Miller?
Yes.
Councillor McPherson?
Yes.
Councillor Windle?
Yes.
Councillor Kushner? Yes. Councillor Harris?
Yes.
Councillor Dodge?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Phillips?
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Phillips, for taking the chair for that. This time is a call for notice of motions. Are there any notices of motion for the next meeting? Councillor Harris.
Actually, it's not for the next meeting, but it would be for March 17th, I believe. Is there a meeting in March? I'm hoping. Am I right? I'm right. And it's Councillor Cush and I are going to be putting a motion forward regarding the properties at, if I can read this, 2060 and 2125 First Street Louth. So we'll be providing all the information in a motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other notices of motion? All right, seeing none, are there any report requests? Seeing none. Committee and task force minutes. Can I have a mover to receive and file the minutes? Councillor McPherson, second to Councillor Kushner. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. There is no closed session. There are no motions arising from the closed session. So number 17, that the bylaws listed on the council agenda as A to G be read a first time, considered and passed, and that they be signed and executed by the mayor and the clerk. Mover and a seconder, Councillor Lindell, Councillor Harris. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And the motion to adjourn. Councillor Kushner, Councillor Stevens, all those in favor? Opposed? Good night now.